How do you like this wild juxtaposition of imagery? Yes, indeedy do. Two great tastes that might taste great together. I'm not really sure. They definitely clash. There's another band joke for you, another music nerd, music geek joke. You might be wondering, what on earth is this bottle that says Crass with an ANTiSEEN t-shirt in the background being held by a couple of trembling hands? Well, my goodness gracious, if you've been on Facebook before, around 7 p.m. on a Wednesday night, you could probably guess that it could only really be one thing, and that is me, Malcolm Tent, bringing you the latest episode of Tent Talks Tunes, baby. You heard me right. I said it a minute ago. I'll say it now. Live. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Facebook. You will typically find little old me sit in front of the gift camera from the Gelmans in Tucson, Arizona, rhyming and spieling. And I actually don't have a rhyme for spieling. I could say stealing, but I'm not really into stealing. Unless it's a musical idea, because as we all know, according to the phrase that I made up myself, talent borrows, genius steals. I made that up, and you can quote me if you want, but only with proper attribution and maybe some royalty payments, because this is, after all, the music business. So all royalties can be sent to my PayPal address, mt@malcolmtent.net. If you're not into digitalis, you can certainly scrape up some spare change from the floor of your car or whatever's rattling around your laundry room, pack it securely in a box, and mail it to P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut, 06470. And if I get enough of that good leafy green, a lot of that good long hold card bill from you, you will be allowed to quote my saying about how talent borrows, genius steals. This is a great prop. This comes from my pal Nancy in New York City. It's an old bottle of Crass soda pop. I never knew there was such a thing, but it is indeed a real old ancient bottle of soda pop. The Crass brand. I can't even imagine what this must have tasted like. As Nancy said, what the hell kind of a brand name is Crass anyway? It works for a punk rock band. Not too sure about a soda. It is very punk rock. You see the bottle is, the top of it's broken clean off. It's sharp and it's dangerous looking. Might have had a Molotov cocktail in it at one time, but there you go, kids. Crass soda for all you punk rockers out there who love the absurd. Let's take a quick look at the monitor here and see who's dialed up, dialed in, and dialing around the internet. I can see that some people are watching. Crass, anyway, works for punk rock. Hey, I can hear me. Not too sure about it. I can hear me clearly. Let's see, James Pogo wants to know, does Crass soda owe us a living? Probably have to take that up with the lawyers there, James. I don't know. Nick, hello, Nick, for tuning in. We got Crystal in North Carolina, Larry in Connecticut, and the always mysterious and enigmatic 6 others watching. I don't know who the 6 others are, but thanks for tuning in. Glad you're here. Whew, it's already been a long, busy day here at TPOS headquarters down on the chicken farm here in Connecticut. Today has already encompassed me mowing the lawn with the infamous push reel lawnmower. If you've seen my profile picture, you know there's been a lot of controversy about the type of lawnmower that I use. And this goes back years. And every year it pops up in my memory feed about the type of lawnmower that I like to use. And it is already a hot topic again in the year 2022. I have an old-fashioned push reel lawnmower, the kind with a big long metal handle and the blades that go like that. And doesn't have a motor on it, doesn't have an engine. It is strictly vegan powered. And I push that thing all over God's little 16th acre in order to keep the lawn looking nice and tidy. I've done that already. I took a good, nice, mile-long run after doing that. Came in and made myself a great big blender full of green vegan slop. And then sat down and had a band meeting with ANTiSEEN. The shirt says nothing's cool, but in my opinion, right now in ANTiSEEN world, everything's cool, baby. We got some gigs coming up. We got some exciting broadcast stuff coming up. We got more releases than I can shake a snake at. Live in Quarantine Volume 1 reissue. Live from Quarantine Volume 2 issue. Those are both practically in hand and ready to go. Very, very exciting. My first 2 full-length vinyl appearances with ANTiSEEN, available extremely, extremely soon from ANTiSEEN.com. Do yourself a favor and go over there and take a look at it. We got a 45 RPM single of Are You Sure Hank Done It That Way coming up. We got a lot going on. And specific gig announcements to be made much sooner than later. So keep your ear to the wind, keep your eye on the monitor screen, and keep your fingers on the computerized keyboard so you don't miss a lick. Because it's all good. So, that's my day so far. If anybody has anything interesting to talk about their day, please post it in the comments section. I see some comments are starting to roll in a little bit. Kit E. Cat says that she used to have one of my push reel lawnmowers in a big yard. I could see how that could be a little bit of a drag, but really good for your forearms. I mean, look at that. That's vegan powered push reel lawnmower musculature. I only weigh 136 pounds, but I'm action packed. I can push a reel with the best of them. You watch me go. So that's where we are now. Let's take a really quick check of the bulletin board and then the mailbox, and then we will talk some tunes. Well, let's see what's happening in the near future. This weekend, you'll find me set up at the Punk Rock Flea Market in Southington, Connecticut. There is an event page for it. I've posted it on my Facebook page. You can message me about it if you find yourself in the greater Danbury, New Milford area. Come on down. There's going to be a ton of damn vendors. I'm one of the damn vendors. I will have a big old table just full of records, tapes, CDs, maybe some gimcracks and gewgaws, not too sure. I'm doing a tag sale in downtown Danbury the day before. This coming Saturday, July 16th. I'm going to have a big old spread of nothing but knickknacks and gimcracks and gewgaws and souvenirs and books and cassettes. It's going to be an entirely different setup than what I'm doing at the Punk Rock Flea Market the next day. So if you want information on that, once again, look on my Facebook page. I posted about it. If you're going to be in Danbury and you want to amble on over, message me personally. I'll give you the address and the hours and all that good stuff. So busy, busy weekend for Old Man Tent coming up in just a matter of hours and hours and hours. Would like to mention that the Malcolm Tent Tim Whole House Tour is almost completely booked. It is almost 100% in the bag. Basically, we're looking at October 12th in Bethel, Connecticut, the 13th in Adams, Massachusetts at Bell Tower Records. Good people. I've never been to their record store. I'm very excited to finally check it out and play there. We got the News Cafe in Providence, Rhode Island on October 14th. Willimantic Records in Willimantic, Connecticut. Good people and a good record shop. I've been there. I've played there. I'm looking forward to getting back there again on October 15th. On the 16th, we're going to be in New Brunswick. On the 17th, a house show in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. On the 18th, Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. Not sure about the 19th. Probably Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Or as they say there, Lancaster. Maybe. Maybe Newburgh, New York. Not sure. Keep an eye on my page for more information. Or keep an eye on my freshly updated website, malcolmtent.net, for information overload. Bug. Whew, I need some Danbury tap to cool me down. It's getting a little bit overheated here talking about all this stuff. All right, let's check out the mailbox. Hey, what kind of stuff did we get at good old P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut 06470? We got a couple of things. We got a cassette from my pal Brian Stur. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Brian. I'm sure I didn't. A split cassette from Dr. Heathen Scum of the Mentors and Brian's own noise project band called Speculum. I love cassettes. This is a professionally made factory sealed cassette. It's hot pink. If you know the Mentors, I'm sure you know what the Dr. Heathen Scum is going to be all about. And there are many, many, many different shades of noise rock. Many, many different shades. I practice some of them myself. I don't know what Speculum sounds like, but I'm going to find out ASAP. So thank you, Brian, for that. I mailed you out a package yesterday. So keep your eye open for that. Dude! And I do have some copies of this for sale on my Discogs page. Look up TPOS on Discogs, and you will find some of these. What else came in the mail? Well, I got a letter from Shane, former drummer of Broken Talent. Got an actual, honest-to-God, handwritten letter from Shane with some of the artwork from his animation series on the back. This is why I love getting real letters in the mail. See, it's a real letter with real handwriting. Because you can write a letter on the back of anything that's really cool. And Shane's got a really, really neat animation series. A lot of it's based on his Funeral Home Confidential. And Shane, if you're watching, please post a link because I think people need to see it. It's really cool. Shane and I have been talking for a long time about doing an animated project based on some of my past travels with two people, Gigi Allen being one, Brian Douglas Clemens being another. And this has been going on for a while, but I think it's going to happen. So there's a letter relating to that. Shane, I got some stuff to send you. That will be coming sooner than later. More stuff in the mail. Very exciting. Being the musical freak that I am, the music geek that I am, the lover of artifacts and collectibles that I am, and also being morbidly obsessed by the really weird aspects of music, I do occasionally send away for something in the mail. And what I sent away for, let's get my props in order here, harkens back to one of my many, many, many weird obsessions with the backwaters and bywaters of the music business. And that is cheap, cheesy, sleazy cash-in records. I've talked a lot about this kind of stuff on Tent Talks Tunes. I've played quite a bit of it on my radio show, Mr. Tent's Wild Ride, which is steadily set on course to be back on the air probably in August. It is happening. I will be back on the air. We're just working out the dates right now. So get ready for that. I look very forward to returning to 88.7 FM in the New Haven area and or WNHU.org on the internet 2 hours every week. This guy right here playing music for you. It works out really well because I can't play music on Facebook, and due to station rules I can't talk about a lot of the stuff that I talk about here on Tent Talks Tunes. So between the two, I get to butter my bread on both sides, and you guys get to have a lot of quality entertainment. So there's something to put in your pipe and smoke. I'm straight edge, so I'll just drink some more of that good Danbury tap. Anyway, one of my completely ridiculous obsessions is cheesy, sleazy, cash-in records, mostly from the 1960s. It's a lost art. The day when there could be a trend of some sort in the music world and any number of absolute no-budget fly-by-night operators could jump right on it and start cranking out albums based on whatever that trend is, those days are long gone. It's really sad. But when those days were in full effect, you had wonderful, wonderful stuff like this. Beatle-rama. Now, in case y'all didn't know already, in case you weren't able to infer, this record does not have one single Beatle on it. It does not have any performances or recordings by the Beatles. It has some songs that the Beatles originally recorded, yeah, but they ain't on this record. No. Beatle-rama has nothing to do with the Beatles. I mean, yeah, it kind of looks like four guys who might be Beatles on the front. I think, but we got Ron, we got Saul, we got Mort, and that's probably bingo right there. Ron, Saul, Mort, and bingo. Beatle-rama. And it does very plainly state in big bold letter, please, please me. And also my Bonnie. And it does say that it is the fabulous new sound from England. And if you squint hard enough, maybe put on your dollar store cheaters, and you look in the lower left-hand corner, whoops, there's the punchline. It's starring the Manchesters. Whoever the hell the Manchesters are. Ron, Saul, Mort, and bingo. There they are. But you might have actually gone to the Woolworths and plunked down 79 cents and bought this record thinking it was the Beatles. What is so great about these albums is that the versions of the Beatles songs that they do contain are almost universally terrible. Like, terrible. Like recorded live in one take in a cheap-ass studio by anywhere between 2 and 5 dudes with instrument in one hand, maybe some sheet music in the other, and maybe some lyrics in the other hand, quite often phonetically transcribed from the record, and just done like that and pressed to vinyl immediately and sent out to all the great dime stores, truck stops, drug stores, and discount stores all over the land in 1964. This stuff is so bad. It's so bad, and I love it. Love it. I got dozens of these records. Dozens of them. And that's where the weirdness comes in. If you go to my personal record collection, which is the next room over, you will see a lot of records. And you'll see a divider card that says Beatles. Yes, you will see a divider card that says Beatles. If you go to that divider card and look at the records, all you're going to see is Beatle-rama. And you're going to see the UK equivalent, which actually got the word right, Beatlemania, which boasts, I don't know the English monetary system, but I think it's 14 shillings and 11 pence, which apparently was not a lot. So for 14 and 11, you got 12 hits. And it does say on the front, Beatlemania. And it does say on the back, Beatlemania. But it don't say nowhere that it ain't the Beatles. You just get a bunch of Beatles songs, cheap. This is what my Beatles record collection looks like. In researching and acquiring these really cheesy, sleazy, low-end cash-in and exploitation records, I came across a masterpiece of the genre. An absolute masterpiece. The question has been asked a lot of times, how low can you go? The record I'm about to show you right now answers the question. When it comes to the music business, you can go pretty low. And you all have heard me ranting and raging and railing and raving about the major labels and how much I hate the major labels and how I have for a very, 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 very long time. I'm here to give you the good news that there are a lot of independent labels out there, or at least certainly were when it comes to this sort of thing, who were every bit as sleazy and greedy and dirty and deceptive as the majors ever were. One of them was an outfit called Savage Records. I don't know where Savage came from, but couldn't have been anywhere good. I don't know. I'm sure the resolution on this ain't too good. This is an actual Savage pressing from 1966 of an album that my morbid obsession led me to. It's an album called Best of the Beatles. And it's got a picture of the Beatles on the front. So, I mean, you can imagine it's 1966 or whatever. You're browsing through the discount rack at your local Woolco department store. And you come across this record, Best of the Beatles. Oh, great. I love the Beatles, and this is the best of them. I'll take it. You pay your $1.19 or whatever. It's probably not until you get home until you look at the back when you see, well, I guess maybe what the front kind of implies. I mean, if you look very carefully, it says Best of the Beatles, and it's got this one guy circled. So I suppose it's truth in advertising. It also lists all the songs. Best of the Beatles. What were the best of the Beatles? Well, I Need Your Lovin', Just Wait and See, Casting My Spell, Keys to My Heart, Why Did You Leave Me, Baby, I'm Blue, She's All Right. Best of the Beatles? I don't know. There's only $1.19. And if you look real carefully on the bottom, you can see in sort of like black on off black. Oh, there's a clue. Yeah, you've got Paul McCartney, John Lennon, George Harrison, Stu Sutcliffe, and Pete Best. And then when you flip it over, I'm not going to show you this just yet because I've got more of a reveal on this. It's actually by Pete Best. Get it? Pete Best. He's best of the Beatles. Hey, man. It's not a lie. It really is Pete Best, formerly of the Beatles. Hey. If you paid the $1.19 without looking at the back or reading the cover, that's your problem. Not the problem of Savage Records. And definitely not the fault of Pete Best, who I will bet you dollars to dog biscuits never saw a nickel from the sales of this record. I'm not a betting man. I only bet on bets with odds that I'm pretty sure I'm going to win. I would bet on that. Betcha. And I'll drink to that too. So in my love for chasing down these ridiculous records, I came across this one, and of course I got it and immediately took it home and played it. And sure enough, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. It is not very good at all. And I was like, this is great. This is just what I love. They took poor old Pete Best, because the vocals on this record are very bad. They're really bad. The music on the record sounds like it was recorded by a bunch of faceless studio hacks with, instrument in one hand, sheet music probably in the other, and lyrics maybe on a bulletin board somewhere, live in one take, whatever. It was just as bad as I wanted it to be. So my scenario was the most obvious one. They took Best of the Beatles, stood him up in front of a microphone, had him sing all these songs with a bunch of faceless hacks, pressed it up as quickly as they could, made as much money as they could, and then disappeared. Typical, typical, typical. Excuse me, there's nothing to change my theory even years later when I found a CD of a lot of this music. And the packaging on this one's a little more accurate. This one's actually credited to the Pete Best combo. Okay, mind you, it's got this Beatle-esque logo on the drum head. It's a set of Ringo-style Ludwigs set up in a Ringo fashion. If you look on the back, it's a cover, a close-up of more Ringo drums with the songs on it. No information whatsoever. But it does have, I think, how many songs do we have here? 12 on the album, 16 on the CD. So, okay, there's 4 more of these cheeseball tunes on the CD. Great, love it. All the better to disgust my musical taste buds with. The inner photo, a close-up of more drums. Showing that the era, if it's not complete outright deception, then at least complete and utter vagueness in packaging. That's all we know. The Pete Best combo on CD with little to no information. So, great. My morbid obsession is really, really being stoked by all this. This came out sometime in the late 80s, I believe, maybe the early 90s. 89. Or is it 99? I can't tell. I paid $1 for these things. What do you want? Somebody look it up for me. I can't see. I think it says 99. Pretty sure it says 99. So as late as 1999. It's not quite as low down as this, but they sure don't tell you much. So then it's got 4 extra songs. I'm loving it. The badness just keeps piling on, layer after layer, decade after decade. And I'm sure Pete Best didn't make a nickel off this one either. Betcha. Let me check the monitor real quick and see if people are still here. Yes. Now, Nick Sampson, okay, and this is where the beauty of it all comes in. Nick Sampson says that he actually likes the Pete Best solo stuff. Nick, that's great. If you have a link or something to one of your favorite tracks, because I'm sure this stuff's on YouTube, post it. I want to hear it. Share this with people. I want to know. I'm all about the opposing viewpoint. I think that's very, very cool. And Nick, he's got one by the Beats, a Beatle cash-in record by the Beats. I would love to see the cover to that one, Nick. If you'd be kind enough to post it, or post a link to this record by the Beats. I think I know which one you're talking about. It says Beats across the top and about lettering yay high with 16 exclamation marks after it. And boy, it's terrible. Anyway, for some strange reason, I don't even know why, I was literally walking across my living room one afternoon, and I just said, you know what? I want to hear some Pete Best stuff. And that led me to, of course, YouTube. And maybe this is what Nick is talking about. I determined to hear if Pete Best's drumming was really as bad as it was always reputed to be. The information out there on that is very sparse. It's pretty scant. It's like, yes, you've got the Decca audition tape, but everybody knows and everybody agrees that that was recorded when the entire band was like tired, jet-lagged, stage frightened. It was like not really a good indication of what the Beatles could actually do. There's a couple of BBC sessions with Pete Best on them, but the sound quality is so terrible you can't really hear the drums. And of course there's the 1961 Tony Sheridan sessions, which don't sound too bad to my ear, but That was very early in the game. So knowing that Pete Best recorded a few sides after the Beatles with a group called the Lee Curtis All-Stars, I figured I would look it up. And sure enough, the 4 songs by the Lee Curtis All-Stars are on YouTube in really good quality. I listened to them, and I came to the conclusion that Pete Best's biggest sin was that he wasn't Ringo. You know, Ringo Starr, anybody can say whatever they want. They can say he was the luckiest guy on earth. Ringo Starr was a damn monster of a drummer, a beast of a drummer, a very inventive drummer, a guy who created rock and roll drums as we know it. Tell me I'm wrong. Dare you. Double dog dare you. Pete Best was a guy who kept time behind the guitar players. That's really about it. He was not bad. He certainly wasn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but he didn't really do a lot. He didn't really propel the music. He sort of kept up with the music. And the Lee Curtis tracks demonstrate that because they're beautifully recorded, they're hi-fi, they were actually released on Decca Records back in 64 and 65. So you can finally hear for yourself what all the hubbub, or lack of, was all about. So I checked them out, I recorded them, I started making my own little comp of this stuff, and, excuse me, I wanted to see if these Lee Curtis All-Stars records had ever been reissued. I couldn't find a reissue of them at all, but I did find a CD of the Pete Best combo, which has not only all of the songs on Best of the Beatles, not only all of the songs on the Pete Best combo generic looking CD, but another like 6 or 7. This thing's got a grand total of, 28 songs on this motherfucker. 28 songs. And we had whatever, 16 before, so 12. 12 tunes by the Pete Best combo I'd never heard of before. And not only that, liner notes. Real, honest to God, liner notes. With contemporary photos and a really good discography. And this CD is totally out of print. I had to scrounge up a used copy somewhere. So I'm not a compensated endorser. I'm just talking about stuff I actually like. So this thing's out of print. So 28 songs by the Pete Best combo with the actual story. And the actual story is a lot more sort of even tragic than I thought it was. The Pete Best combo was a real band. It was the remnants of the Lee Curtis All-Stars, plus a couple of horn players who were flown over to the U.S. by the financial masterminds behind Savage Records. I love that logo, too. Is that Savage or what? Savage. Vaguely reminiscent of the Capitol Records logo, but only vaguely. Man, that's savage. They were flown over to the United States of America as a band to record and tour. And the compositions on all these records are mostly originals written by, and I hope I get their names right, and I hope I can see them. Ooh la 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 la, isn't this great? Last names are Whittington and Bickerton. Do we have first names? I'm sure we do somewhere, but you guys don't want to see me reading the liner notes live on the air or archived on the Facebook. Wayne Bickerton and Tony Waddington. They wrote all the originals. They sang all of the songs. And Pete Best played drums. And according to the people themselves who were actually interviewed for these liner notes, they flew to New York. They starved. They sold blood to pay their bills. They recorded all these tracks. And then when the album came out, it was not the Pete Best combo featuring the dudes. It was Best of the Beatles. Wink, wink. And the dudes at that point said, well, okay, I guess it wasn't our talents that Savage were interested in. I guess we better go now. So they flew back to England, and those two dudes, Waddington and Bickerton, actually went on to very long, successful careers in the British music business as songwriters, producers, and executives. So this actually turns out to be a very interesting album that documents best of the Beatles in the decline of whatever career he had, and these other two dudes learning the very harsh, tough realities of the music business as they're just starting out. And my earlier critique about the music being not that great, I have no doubt that if those guys were contacted and asked about it, they would agree with me. I'm pretty sure they would agree with me, especially considering what they went on to do later with lots of British chart success and production credits. It's like you got to start somewhere. And these guys just happen to start with Best of the Beatles. AKA, if you look hard enough, the Pete Best combo. But man, you gotta look. So yeah, I mail ordered this thing. And there's one more punchline involved with Best of the Beatles. You'll notice I've only shown you the front cover, and I promised a wee little itty bit of a reveal a few minutes ago. But first, let's take a very quick look at the comments. We got people, ooh, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I'll have to look at this later. Chad Cochran says that Ringo is one of the best drummers. I get it, ha 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 ha. But is Best one of the Ringo drummers? I wonder. Anyway, here's the punchline. This is my close encounter of a Beatle kind. The year is 1985. The locale is Miami, Florida. As we all know, or maybe you don't, you're going to know in about 2 seconds, I'm a Florida boy. I was born in Columbia, South Carolina, raised in Florida from the age of 2 to 22. So my 20 formative years were spent in the overheated, super humid hellhole of South Florida. 1985, I was about a year away from getting out of there. Whew, what a great day that was. But 85, I'm still living in South Florida, and I'm working a job. My job was inventory. I was one of those dudes, and if any of you people out there work in retail hardcore, you know exactly what it was I did for a living. I was one of those dudes who would arrive at some ridiculous, ungodly early hour of the morning in a van full of a bunch of other people. We would rush into your store with calculators strapped onto our hips, and we would fan out all over your store and go through every single item in the store and count it as the inventory. Every item broken down by department and price. To this day, I can still take a calculator and work it with no eyes. It was like the one good skill I picked up in this job. Taking inventory and working a calculator very quickly without looking. It served me well over the years, actually. So it was a very fortuitous day in downtown Miami when I was working my job at the inventory place, when I got out of work and I drove by the Omni in downtown Miami. And the Omni, which I don't know if it's still there, but the Omni was like a shopping mall, restaurant complex, hotel, events place. They had one in Atlanta, the Omni. And it was built in downtown Miami at a time when downtown Miami was just desolate, barren wasteland. Like nobody did anything in downtown Miami. Downtown Miami was a ghost town. So for this thing, the Omni, to pop up in downtown Miami was, on the one hand, kind of exciting. On the other hand, seen as a real folly. Because who the hell was going to go to downtown Miami for anything, you know? But it apparently worked. They were able to scare up enough business to stay in business. And as I'm driving by the Omni, I see a sign for a Beatles convention, like a Beatles collector convention. Cool. I just got off work. I remember it was a Friday, which meant that either I had my paycheck with me or it was close at hand. Let's go check out this Beatles thing, man. I love it. So, I park at the Omni. Or actually, I remember I parked on the street in Miami, because you could park anywhere down there. Nobody cared. Parked on the street in Miami, walked into the Omni, and sure enough, in the mall area, which is a 2-floor, they had a mall on one floor and a mall on another floor. They had all these tables set up with the Beatles collectors and the Beatles dealers. And you're like, memorabilia, records, bootleg LPs, all the cool, fun stuff that you could find at a collector's event like that back in the 80s. It was really great. So I'm having a blast, man. I'm just like browsing around. I got money in my pocket. I think I bought a couple of things even, who knows. I saw a Beatles tribute band. Yes, I saw a Beatles tribute band, my first ever. I don't remember the name of it, but I remember something very clearly. I remember a couple of things very clearly about it. And this ties into the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. I remember the Beatles band playing, and the guy who was portraying John Lennon had this, like, John Lennon White Album style headpiece. It wasn't a wig. It was more like a prosthetic headpiece that started up at the brow and had like John Lennon's forehead and then a John Lennon hair. And this thing was like kind of jammed down on his head. And he made an effort to conceal the seam, but you could tell very clearly there was a big seam between the prosthetic forehead and this dude's natural eyebrows. It was weird. It was really weird looking. It was kind of Frankensteinish. But he's up there, come together right now and, whatever, doing the thing. They finished their set. And I remember he got off the stage and walked down through the crowd. And this young lady just, like, I don't remember, she actually grabbed him by the denim jacket, but she, like, really glommed onto him, and she was just in tears. Just crying and just going on and on to this guy with a fake forehead and fake hair about John, and I don't remember at all what she said, if I could even make it out, but she was losing it. And I just remember this guy standing there with a denim jacket and the fake dome and the glasses, just kind of listening there, like, trying to console her or whatever. But it was just like a really weird sight, man. This young lady having a complete meltdown, and this very obviously fake John Lennon just sort of like soaking it all in. It was odd. It was quite odd. I walked away before I could see how the tableau played out. I hope it ended well. I really do. So, okay. We've had one gut-wrenching emotional experience already at the Omni in downtown Miami. So I'm looking around the Beatles convention some more, and I go around the corner, and there's a table that says, not in so many words, but Best of the Beatles. And there he was, sitting behind a table. Best of the Beatles himself, Pete Best. Pete Best sitting behind a table. I'm guessing this had to have been 1985 because I did my research, and if my research is accurate, he had done his autobiography in 1985. So my guess is he had done the autobiography. He was making the rounds. Excuse me. And he must have had books for sale to autograph and sell. Because I remember Pete Best sitting behind this table with a marker in his hand, very neatly dressed, very well groomed, neatly trimmed mustache. He seemed like a very mellow, relaxed dude. Even though across from the table from him, standing in front of him, having a complete meltdown with tears and runny nose and everything, was another young lady. Just, she couldn't believe she was face to face with Best of the Beatles, and she's just like crying and going on, and just like the other one who was talking to the fake John Lennon. I couldn't understand a word she was saying, but she was just like, like dying and, freaking out, and Best of the Beatles just sitting there politely. I remember him just looking up at her with the marker in his hand. Didn't say a word. He just kind of let her go on and on and on. I'm sure he was thinking, he was probably thinking, 20 years working for the city of Liverpool and the employment agency, and I never had to deal with anything like this. I'm sure he was thinking that. But it was kind of the same deal. I just sort of observed it for a minute or two and just kind of took my leave. Another very surreal tableau in downtown Miami in 1985. So you fast forward a whole bunch of years to a time when I bought this really good record collection from a dude. And this is where I put in the plug that I buy and I sell records. I buy record collections. If you got a record collection to sell, talk to me. I want to buy it. That's how I make my living. That's how I pay for Harry the Cat's cat food. I want to buy your record collection, and then I want to flip it. You can see what I've got for sale on Discogs. That's where the bulk of my inventory is posted. But what I have posted on Discogs is just a mere thimbleful of ice cream from the 55-gallon drum. I got so much more than that. And it's all got to go, which means it's all got to be sold. So talk to me if you want to buy some records or if you want to sell some records. I love to facilitate the exchange of goods. Anyway, I bought this record collection, and there was another copy of Best of the Beatles. Imagine my delight when I flipped it over and saw not only the great back cover art in which they take Pete Best. If you know your Beatles history, you'll know that one of the big sticking points was that he refused to get the Beatles haircut. Well, by 1966, he'd given up the fight, and I guess they twisted his arm enough to make him get a Beatles haircut. And, you can see it's the Pete Best story, and yes, it really is Best of the Beatles, all the sleazy, carefully worded promotional get out, another picture of Best of the Beatles, but this one, it's got an autograph on it. To Bob, best wishes, Pete Best. My friends, this album itself might be a sleazy, cheesy cash-in. It might be a cynically made piece of junk, but you know what? It's signed by Pete Best himself, who was legit, authentically, for real, no arguing, a Beatle. And if you look at the deep story of his involvement with the band, you could argue very convincingly that they never would have gotten to where they got if it weren't for him. And for his mother, Mona Best, who did a lot of the band's bookings, and the simple fact that Pete Best brought this guy Neil Aspinall into the Beatles' orbit, and Neil Aspinall to this day is a major cog in the story of the Beatles. So he got this thing signed. That's a real autograph by Pete Best, and it's probably the only real Beatle autograph I will ever own, and I love this thing. I cherish this. I will never get rid of this. Ever. If you see this for sale on eBay or at a yard sale someday, you'll know that either I'm dead or I was 6 inches away from being completely homeless. Best of the Beatles. It's got the best of all possible worlds on it, as far as I'm concerned. So that's really cool. And I don't know if Pete Best signed this in 1985 or whatever. I really don't know. But it's good enough for me. And the fact that Pete Best was gracious enough and good-humored enough to sign this thing, I'm going to imagine without complaint. I would hope without bitterness. The fact that he did it, I think is very cool. Very, very cool. So hats off to Pete Best for apparently being a really good sport. And hats off to all the sleazy cash-in artists who make records like Best of the Beatles and to a certain degree this one. And guess what? There's another punchline to this. I've had this CD for years, and I just assumed that this was it. I never bothered to open it, but there actually is another period piece photo of the Pete Best combo. The liner notes aren't nearly as good. It's just like your basic thumbnail, we already knew that history of the Beatles. But it's got an actual, honest-to-God, 1966-ish photo of the Pete Best combo, and that's pretty damn cool. I almost wish I had opened this up years ago. And all this talk triggered just because I mail-ordered this one CD. And I'm going to leave you guys with one more little factoid. Just one more little factoid. And I'll tell you what, also, I honestly didn't think I was going to do the entire episode of Tent Talks Tunes based just on Best of the Beatles. It just kind of happened that way. One more little factoid about these wonderful, cheesy cash-in records. Showed you this one already, you know, Beatle-Rama. And then the UK equivalent, Beatlemania. This is another record I mail-ordered. It turns out that this UK version of Beatlemania, even though it's got the non-existent production values of your best Beatles exploitation record, and even though it was recorded in London with Londoners doing extremely bad Liverpool accents, you thought Americans had cornered the market on really bad English accents? My friends, my fellow fiends, wait till you hear Londoners doing Liverpool accents. It's horrific, but so wonderful. So wonderful. Anyway, just as sleazy, just as cheesy as your American cash-in record, but interestingly enough, the drummer on this one is a guy named Jimmy Nicol. Now, some of you Beatlemaniacs may recognize the name Jimmy Nicol. Jimmy Nicol is the guy who filled in for Ringo when the Beatles toured Scandinavia and Australia in 1964. Jimmy Nicol was Beatle for a week. And he was also a really good drummer who was able to play in that hard-hitting Ringo style. And that is one of the saving graces of this record, even though it is completely fly-by-night and borderline deceptive. Musically, and I ain't talking about the accents, but musically, it's not bad. It's not bad. In fact, they do a version of Money on this one that I'll wager gives the Beatles version a run for its money. If you can look it up and listen to it, you'll see what I mean. It's actually not bad. But yeah, Jimmy Nicol, the man who was almost a Beatle for about a week on a sleazy, cheesy, genuine English Beatles exploitation record. Very cool if you love this kind of stuff as much as I do. And if you've actually stuck around for a solid 54 minutes, I'm going to assume that you do. So, as always, thank you guys for tuning in to Tent Talks Tunes. It is always my job and my joy to yap and yammer about this stuff. Glad you guys like it. If you missed any part of this episode, or you just want to relive some of the past glories of Tent Talks Tunes gone by, Go to my YouTube channel. Subscribe it. Subscribe to it. Like it. Love it. I have a lot of stuff archived on my YouTube channel. Tent Talks Tunes episodes, musical performances by myself, by any number of bands that I'm in, including ANTiSEEN, Ultra Bunny, They Hate Us, The Bloody Apostles, a lot of stuff. Go there, watch yourself some good TV. While you're at it, check out the ANTiSEEN official YouTube channel, which is curated by moi. Lots of episodes of Break On Through, Jeff Clayton's musical talk show, which airs every Tuesday at 5 p.m. on the ANTiSEEN Facebook page and is archived on the ANTiSEEN YouTube channel. Very fun. I never missed an episode. Maybe I'll see you guys this weekend, either in Southington, Connecticut or Danbury. Once again, hit me up if you need information about this event, the Punk Rock Flea Market, or the tag sale that I'm doing on Saturday, the 16th. We got the Malcolm Tim Whole House Tour coming up in October. And more immediately, the fact that I most likely will not be doing Tent Talks Tunes next week. Most likely not. Because next week, next Wednesday, the 20th, do I have that right? Do I have that right? That's November, so that won't do me a whole lot of good. This is one of those things I should have memorized by now. Yes, I am correct. July 20th, 1 week from today, I will most likely be in the recovery bed, recuperating from very long overdue surgery on my wrist, which was broken when I was 19 years old and stayed broken for my entire life up until this moment. It's finally getting fixed. That's happening a week from today. So I'm imagining that a week from today I'll be pretty groggy, full of stitches and staples. Who knows? I don't know. So I'm assuming I won't be on. But I'll, of course, keep everybody updated via the various social media. And think about it. This is the last episode of Tent Talks Tunes, Lord willing and the creeks don't rise, that you will see where I'm in constant, unremitting pain. From now on, we should have a pain-free version of Tent Talks Tunes. And that, my friends, is something to be very, very happy about. So, I reckon I'll see everybody probably in about 343 hours, somewhere around there-ish. I'll let you know. But whenever that is, until we do meet again, this is Malcontent saying so long from the Nutmeg State.